As we've just seen, for some things Pug is no shorter to type than regular HTML. For example, the viewport meta tag has parentheses instead of angle brackets, but it's exactly the same length, so there's no gain in conciseness there. Fortunately, there's a solution, and the solution is Emmet abbreviations. You may be familiar with Emmet in HTML, particularly if you're a regular user of Visual Studio Code, as it's included in VS Code by default. But in any case, let's have a brief look at Emmet in HTML before we go on to look at how we can use it in Pug, which is basically in exactly the same way. Make a new folder inside your project folder, name it Lesson 05, and inside it create a new HTML file and name it emmet.html. Save it. The first, and possibly the best, Emmet abbreviation of all is to type an exclamation mark, and press Enter, and you get the whole boilerplate code for a new HTML5 document, including the long and hard-to-remember viewport meta tag we were doing. Move the cursor down inside the body tags, type H1 and press Enter, and both opening and closing H1 tags will appear, with the cursor conveniently placed between them. So we can type in the content of the H1 tag. Emmet makes it possible to enter a large amount of HTML very quickly using CSS style syntax. A greater than character nests tags inside the parent, just as parent-child CSS selectors can be defined. So, for example, nav greater than ul greater than li would give us a navigation element containing an unordered list containing a single list item. We can multiply elements using the asterisk as the multiplication symbol. Nav greater than ul greater than li times 5 would give us the navbar, and inside that an unordered list with 5 list item elements. Very convenient. Greater than gives us child elements inside a parent element, plus gives us sibling elements. So main greater than div plus div plus div results in a main element containing 3 divs alongside each other. Whereas main greater than div greater than div greater than div creates a main element with 3 nested divs inside it. Classes and IDs are done as in CSS. Div.navbar or just .navbar creates a div with the class name navbar, and div hashbox1 creates a div with the ID name box1. As in Pug, you can just put a dot or a hash followed by a class name or ID name, and Emmet will insert a div with that name. You can do quite complicated things by chaining Emmet together like this. Div greater than aside hash left panel plus main hash center panel plus aside hash right panel gives us a div containing 2 aside elements and a main element, each with an ID applied. Tags with attributes are really easy in Emmet too. For the CSS style sheet link, just type link:/CSS. And there it is. For the viewport meta tag, it's just meta:/VP. Really good. So that's a look at the ordinary way to use Emmet in HTML. What you may not have realized, though, is that Emmet works in exactly the same way in Pug as in HTML, using exactly the same abbreviations, so there's nothing new to learn. Just that if we're in a Pug file, we'll get Pug syntax instead of HTML. Create a new file and name it emmetinpug.pug. Change directory on the command line so you're in this directory. Start Pug on the command line to watch for changes again. Inside emmetinpug.pug, enter exclamation mark and press Enter, and the Pug version of the HTML boilerplate will appear. Indented under the body element, enter an H1 and follow it with its content. Then above that, do what we did before to create the navbar containing 5 list items. So nav.navbar greater than ul greater than li times 5. And there's the Pug version. Main hash container greater than hash left.box plus hash middle.box plus hash right.box gives us a main element with the ID name container containing 3 divs alongside each other, each with an ID name and a class name. Like everything else, the Emmet abbreviations for the style sheet and the viewport tag are exactly the same as in an HTML file. Indented inside the head element, add a link to a style sheet using link:/CSS. Delete the viewport meta tag which was provided automatically, and type meta:/VP. And there it is again. And here's our much longer HTML file, all done automatically. Isn't that great? Emmet and Pug make a really useful combination. If I'm writing any HTML, I always use Emmet, and I do the same in Pug. Let's move on now to another useful feature of Pug which ordinary HTML can't do, reusing blocks of code.